And we are live. Welcome back to the 12th episode of season 3 on the Mecca Banter podcast. We have a great episode in store for you guys this week. Thanks for joining us. We're going to be recapping St. Louis City's game against the Seattle Sounders on Saturday, as well as recapping the Premier League games from the weekend. And we're going to end it with a fun little game. I won't spoil it quite yet, but let's check in, boys. First of all, this is Winks at LCW21 on Twitter. Happy to be here. Hafey, what's up, brother?
How we doing? I'm shocked you went to me first after the weekend.
Get it out of the way.
Absolutely. I'm super excited to talk about it after the London Derby. Also, really want to talk about City as well with the playoffs coming. I'm excited to chat with you boys about it. I'm a little nervous, but hey, we're here. Obviously, you can find me on Twitter at Hafey4. It's been really quiet on my Twitter, but let's try to get that active again. So yeah, hit me up on there.
Love it. Hoove, what's up, big dog?
Boys, doing good. Super disappointed with St. Louis and the performance this weekend, and I am genuinely terrified to look forward towards the postseason. But the other side of my fandom's doing pretty well, I'd say. So I'm gonna just keep it at that, and we'll get into it later.
Beautiful. United boys. What's going on, Hen?
Yo, it's your boy Hen. Fellas, let me tell you. Let me freaking tell you. It's a great week to be a Manchester United fan, but I missed out last week. I was in Kansas City, but I do want to give a special shout out on this pod, and I have not told you all this yet because I've been waiting to share this on the pod. I got to visit my friend Grant Jansen in Kansas City while we were there, and while we were there, he was asking me, he was like, "How's the podcast going? I see that you all are like still going strong." And he's like, "Hey, did you ever meet my friend Grant at my wedding?" And I was like, "No, maybe." He's like, "Well, your brother and him hit it off pretty well. Obviously, Jake's been part of the pod, so he's been listening every single week. The guy has been listening every week to the podcast. So shout out Grant." But he said that he did not have a team going into listening to our podcast, and that he
Ooh.
officially pledged his allegiance from listening to our podcast to the Tottenham Hotspurs. So Andy Hoover, shout out.
You know what's so weird about that? Like about a year ago, I'll shout out two of my buddies, Mike Vitale and Will Griswold. They both like heard about our podcast, and so Will was my buddy who introduced us um to the Arsenal Vision podcast. And at that time, neither of them had a team either. And so when they were deciding a team, they were like, we don't want to pick like one of the best teams. Like we want to pick like a mid-level team. And they both ended up picking Arsenal too. So I don't know, or sorry, they both picked Tottenham too. So I don't know. Yeah, rewind. But I don't know what's going on, but I feel like there have been so many people lately in the last year that have decided to pick up Tottenham fandom, and it makes
There's
no
been a
sense.
resurgence, man. There's been a resurgence,
It's the
and especially
agenda.
you guys from St. Louis too. We already have a built-in reason to hate Arsenal. So
Yeah.
find any excuse.
Yeah. So Grant McNeely, shout out to you, brother. And Hoover is always looking for more in the Tottenham fan
Come on,
base.
you
There's not many, so
The group
shout
chat
out to you,
is
bro.
tiny.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And last but not least, Mr. Sindobri, Coach Sindobri.
What's going on? What's going on, fellas? It's good to be here. I do feel bad for those fans, though. It's like, why do you sign yourself up for that misery?
Bro.
It's like they have no idea. That's why it's always funny when they pick a Prem team. It's like they start to learn the history, and it's like, oh my god, this is what happens here.
It's been the same thing for 12 years, so I get it. Yeah.
But it's good to see you, fellas. It's your boy Dobes at CDobes10. Honestly, just happy United won this weekend, so I'll take 3 points any way we can get them. And then it's also business end of the season for City. So a lot to jump into today with some Champions League, big playoff games coming up this weekend. But happy to be here, fellas. Good to see you.
Awesome. So we will roll right into St. Louis City. Words are hard today. We'll roll right into St. Louis City. So they played Saturday night at home against the Seattle Sounders and lost 2-0. We saw a change in formation. I know that we were talking about it. I think they played a 4-2-2 out of nowhere. We read some things about them wanting to change formations and try some different stuff out ahead of the playoffs. Now, whether or not that was the smart move to get the team in full form before we before we start that or not is up for debate, but it was an absolutely miserable game nonetheless. Henry and I went and sat in the supporters section and fairly high up at that, and so we got to kind of see it from a pretty good bird's eye view, and we just looked atrocious all the way around. I feel like we played so much more narrow than we ever did, and so many long balls. It felt like there was no build up, and in the long ball attempts we were losing almost everyone. So, Seattle felt like the better team all the way around in every aspect of the game. Unfortunately, even though we played our dogs. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, completely agree with you. I was very disappointed. I think we talked about it last podcast, how we kind of wanted it to be a tune-up for the playoffs, and by no means do I think that was the case for us. I think Seattle came out and looked like a team who was getting ready for the playoffs. I also think we said it last podcast, but I think that was a pretty big game for them. I think the fact that they won it jumped them up a seed. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think they
I'd
had
look
a
into
second.
it.
That's huge.
But like that was a big game for them. But that still doesn't mean like we shouldn't put in a performance. So I was definitely upset with that. But yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that we can bounce back, especially because the whole at home, we have home field advantage. I was expecting us to get ready for the playoffs, have a playoffs atmosphere style. And I don't think that was the case. Well, I don't know. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but like we did not play as if we were like using that to our advantage in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I think the atmosphere was great. Like, I think like the block party beforehand, I think like the crowd really showed out for it. But yeah, I mean, nothing that you haven't already said, but I was expecting a tune-up before the playoffs as well. Like, we're going into playoffs. We have the number one seed. We got to beat teams like that. Like, like
Yeah.
we can't just take that lightly. And um, I'm actually like not a fan at all of changing the formation beforehand because like what's the point of that? I guess you have to be able to see how you can play differently in different circumstances, sure, but now's not the time for that. That was mid-season, three-fourths of the way through the season, early in the season. Like we haven't seen a 4-4-2 diamond since like the beginning of the season. That happened for a little bit right at the beginning, like before we figured out kind of what worked for us. So it just felt like it was just a really weird coaching decision, and it wasn't tactical from a injury perspective. Like we were healthy, we were good. We saw some subs later in the game, but it was just not a good showing all the way around. We just got beat to everything. Like it was not good for the boys.
You guys are holding back really well because I'm kind of pissed. Like I need to take a couple steps back, and we've questioned Carnell for right or wrong all season, and he's done really well. He's going to win Coach of the Year. Cool, that's great. He deserves it. The first half felt like a complete experiment.
Yeah,
Like
totally.
it felt like a total experiment with different personnel on the field. We're seeing Watts in this double pivot six with Blom that didn't work, and I don't think it's because he can't play there. But where's he supposed to play the ball out to? I got up early on Sunday and at my parents' request went to church with them, which was tough in itself. But when I tell you two or three people of the church came up to me and they know about my affiliation with soccer in St. Louis and all this stuff. And one of the guys was like, I've really only been watching since we've gotten the team. He's like, it just felt like we were getting killed on the wide parts of the field on the wing. I'm like, Ed, you're a genius. There's real problems when Mr. Casual Ed Bean, great guy, comes up to me and is telling me, hey, why were we getting killed on the wings? I was like, I was in the stands saying the same thing. I was pissed. It was
Shout out
so
Ed.
evident. Shout out Ed. It was so evident. To make the subs he made and then it not get any better. There wasn't a lot of fight. There wasn't a lot of energy. It felt like they were beat after the second goal, which really isn't characteristic of this team. So I don't want to sit here and beat about their effort because I think it's been 100% all year. But none of it was cohesive. Like my sister was pissed. My sister's like a pretty casual fan. She's a season ticket holder. She follows. she was like, there were people around us, and she kind of felt that the team felt, we've got first place, we're good, this isn't that big of a deal. Some of the fans were saying, hey, look, it's not that big of a deal. We've got first place. She was mad about that. Like, we can't be, if we want to win these cups, if we want to do this stuff, and we feel that we can, which we're in the position to do, you can't be complacent at all, even as fans. Like, nobody's asking more. My expectations have completely changed about this season. The way that we've treated all of it this year, we've killed it. It's been so much better than any of us thought. So things have to get different. Like, things have to escalate. We can't just say, "Oh, that was great." That we really killed it, which we did. Unreal season, but we want to win. St. Louis wants to win, and they do too. I know they do, but like, don't mess with what's not broken. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Play the
100%.
high press style. We killed this year with this high press style. Wide players, like the comfortable center, left mid, right mid type situation. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I'm not pumped about it, but I fully expect us to take it to whoever we play first round. There's no other expectation. Like, you have to go and attack these guys.
Out of all the
talked about it.
formations, go ahead. And
I think we just talked about it a couple weeks ago of like we peaked at the wrong time of the season. We were playing this like high press, and to your point, we like changed our formation completely for this game and for the last couple of weeks too. Like, it's not like we were in this crazy run of form and this was a blip. Like, we ended the season not well. So like,
Yeah.
it is hard to balance, and like I'll admit, like there was a little bit of myself like at the game where I was like thinking to myself, I'm like, we look so bad right now. Well, at least we've qualified. At least we're the top team, whatever. Which is just not a
silver
great
linings. You got to take that. Where
sure,
it
but
is.
like not a great end to the season. Like, of our last 5 games, we only won 2 of them. Like, that's not great for the number 1 team. So yeah, it was not tight as the people say.
out of this season, after trying all these different formations, I guess we'll see which one Carnell decides to go with and what lineup as we go into playoffs. But I truthfully have no idea. We've played so many different ones and tried so many different players that there's only a few positions that I think we know who's going to be starting in. And
Well,
It's
I
the
mean,
back
fuck.
line, Klaus and Lowen. Like,
Yeah.
those are the guys that I know are going to play.
I'm like literally looking at our last 15 fixtures. We've won 4 of them in our last 15. Like, that is not.
I'm coming from a place of did not watch the game, was at a wedding, but like just the setup of the 2-2-2, like there's probably 3 or 4 guys that it's definitely not their best position or like the way to set them up for most success. Like AZ belongs playing in the middle, Lewin belongs playing in the middle, so they're on the ball a ton. They don't have to do that extra defensive work. They're just not those types of players. Like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to like understand that that's not necessarily going to work. But like I'm with sort of I agree with everything you guys say. Like, how many times do we see like the team in the NHL win the President's Cup and they get bounced in the first round? How
Totally.
many times do we see that? We've seen it twice in baseball this year. Like I said it last week, but it's like it's not about like necessarily like clinching first. It's about getting hot at the right time. So I think there is a little bit of concern about going into the next round. But I will say I'm not necessarily scared of either San Jose or if we play Kansas City. I think over 3 games we can beat them, and I think we can probably use that as our time to sort of get ready and sort of jolt ourselves. But based off what you guys are saying, doesn't sound too encouraging.
I don't want to be all doom and gloom. Like, I really don't want to be doom and gloom. Like, it's not the right perspective. But I think like what we've been consistent in all season is we'll call a spade. Like, and we'll do that, whether we play super well or we don't play well at all. But like, this was an example of like where we as fans that have been following this team since its inception, like we went in with an expectation of this game that wasn't met. And the optimist in me says like hopefully we'll kick ourselves in the ass for playoffs, but there's no promise of that.
4 out of 15, no matter the sport, is terrible way to
Terrible
season.
You look at the Blues and say the same exact thing, dude. We've done that. Like, we've won those however many games we won, and then we went to win the Stanley Cup. Like, we were last place, and
totally.
Kansas City was horrible all year. They've been killer in their last like 13.
Well, because
Like,
they've
terrifying.
been playing essentially the playoffs for the past month of the season. Like they
Yeah.
couldn't drop points.
Yeah. Also, I guess while we're talking about the playoffs, what a fucking joke the time slots are
Dude,
for. Dude,
miserable.
a,
Miserable.
a
Yeah.
9 p.m. kickoff on a Sunday
Thinking
night.
about taking work off Monday, like genuinely.
I mean, and then also we have like what do we have? On the 5th we have a 4 p.m. kickoff, and then the
Cool.
11th we have a 5 p.m. kickoff. It's just random as fuck. That 9 p.m. kickoff, I can't believe on a Sunday.
I saw
Dude,
someone
watch it on
say,
270.
someone tweeted that it's probably like it's a kick in the teeth to us because Fox and MLS knows that no matter what time slot they give us, we're gonna pack that stadium. So they needed fans in the stadium for that 9 o'clock slot, no matter who it was, no matter where it was. And we got stuck with it because we're incredible fans and we're gonna fucking show up.
It's a very good point. It's a very good point.
A blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
100%.
Real quick before we move on from the MLS, I don't know if you guys saw this, but you guys saw that I think New York, the Red Bulls qualified. I think it's like 14 straight or something crazy. But I wanted to shout out Tommy Barlow. I don't know if you guys saw that. He's like one of the only players that's played in every single game this season.
That's sick.
Yeah,
I
so
love that.
whether he started or come off the bench. So shout out to Barlow, man. That's sick.
Big time.
Big Tom. Love
Big
it.
time.
All right, gents. Well, let's roll into the Premier League. 4 big games happen that we're going to touch on specifically, and we'll start with Coach Butchart doing some scouting this evening. We'll quickly touch over Liverpool, Everton. Liverpool won 2-0. Salah with 2 solo goals. No surprise there.
Penn Merchant.
Penn Merchant. I didn't watch it, but Everton, looking at the stats before the pod, did what Everton does best and sucked.
They got cheated a red card. I do know that.
Uh-huh.
Konate for sure should have had a red.
Konate, second yellow, doesn't get it, and it was worse than his first yellow.
100%.
And Klopp subbed him off the field immediately. Next play, subbed him off the field. Like that. That's a pretty telling action.
That doesn't fit the agenda, fellas. That doesn't fit the agenda of Liverpool. So
Hey, we won't whine about it. No one's gonna whine about it though.
No, I could care less. It's Everton. But
dude, obviously viewers, you're not in our group chat, but Hoover sent the funniest fucking video after that game of like it ended up being fake, not real, but like of Klopp in his press game or his like post game conference, and someone says like, "Oh, Konate should have had a second yellow there for a red card. Does that mean that Everton get a what is it, a replay?" Why are you asking that question? Why are you asking that?
The Liverpool shit is insane to me. Like the stat, I pulled them up because I saw it today. It was like total amount of penalties awarded thus far this season. Arsenal and Liverpool are both tied at 5.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't know if you guys watched the game, but it was one of those that Ashley Young sort of does what I've seen him do so many times and just dove into 2 challenges. Got sent off in the game. The game was sort of over for there. It was kind of frustrating just watching because Liverpool weren't creating great chances. And so literally anytime that anything happened in the box, the cop end and all of Liverpool would just scream at their arms up and sprint to the referee. It was fucking annoying. And of course they finally Michael Keane ended up giving the fucking pen and sort of changed the game. But I don't know, man. It's frustrating watching them and all the complaining. But then again, it's Everton, so like they probably would have went on to win anyway.
If you haven't watched Ashley Young's second yellow, it's hilarious. It's like not even close to the ball, full on slide tackle. Like it just makes no sense why he did that. Like you can't even possibly argue.
You gotta know that Diaz is just gonna go to the ground. Like he does that regardless, let alone if you have a yellow. And it's like the moment he got touched, he got shot. He got shot in the face twice.
Wild. All right, moving on to the next game. We've got a 2-2 draw, Arsenal and Chelsea. Arsenal squeaking out a point, as well as Chelsea. Nick, I'll let you have your flowers on this one. You can go first.
Ooh, I'm okay with that. I really wanted to see your reaction because I think it was sloppy game, but I definitely think we should have walked away with 3 points. I definitely think we were the better side in the game. I think I said it on the last couple of podcasts. I think we played differently against top 6 competition. Their first shot on goal was a Sanchez mistake, and then the first goal, which is unfortunate. I really wanted Mudrik's game-winning goal to be the highlight, the story. I think it was all there.
The cross fuck up.
There's just no way it was a shot.
I mean, Arsenal fans cannot be talking about that with all the fucking own goals that you guys score. It's fucking laughable.
Deflections are different.
No touch was
Gypsy.
made, and he actually put it in the back of the net.
But that was a cross.
Yeah, hey, it's still a fucking goal. I don't give a shit. It went in the net.
Man celebrated like he scored a world. He's trying to win it to the box.
First goal for him at the bridge. The story was there. Very happy for him. I thought he played well. I thought Conor Gallagher played really well for us. But yeah,
I can't believe he keeps playing.
dude, I was shocked as well. But to be fair, I think he put in a solid performance. He got a lot. Like defensively, when they have the ball, him defensively as an attacking mid, his press is I love it. His effort is always there. And once he gets the ball, he's very simple. And I think I've said that a lot as well. He doesn't really have a lot of creativity, which is the downfall to him in my eyes. But like his simplicity definitely showed. And I like the lineup as well. But
Dude, the lineup was weird. So you guys played like a 4-4-2 without a striker. Like both of your like forwards, quote unquote, were like sat in so much outside of when you guys were pressing. Yeah, you guys definitely looked like a different team and an entertaining one at that for the first time this season. So cheers, and we'll see if that lasts. But yeah, you guys had a great press early on. Definitely out hustled us, and we made several errors because of it. I don't know if the formation was forced because of the matchup or if it was Pacha's like choice for moving forward. But yeah, obviously kind of an unlucky handball by Saliba, even though the shot was going wide, and then Mudrik's cross fuck up.
Happened for Fernandez.
Those are still tough. How are you supposed to jump without your arms?
Yeah.
I could ask Romero the same thing, man, but they didn't call that one.
But also when it's like out and above your arm, totally different from turning from a deflection. So
a question for you fellas. Is it officially time for us to say that Caicedo's on fraud alert?
Absolutely.
Bro.
He might have been your guys' worst player, in my opinion.
He was absent again. And this is like game after game after game after game. And I know that in that defensive midfielder role, that sometimes that's the purpose, that he's not super involved. And like, because I can say, like, I was thinking about this.
Not for Scott McTominay.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we'll get to him. We were talking about the GOAT there.
Second place in Euro qualifying.
Yeah, come on now.
He's there.
But I'll be there no matter what. But I was thinking about Caicedo and Enzo, and especially in the first half. I think that was the best Chelsea's looked all season comfortably in that first half. They looked awesome. And I didn't notice Enzo or Caicedo the entire first half. But like that wasn't their job, wasn't to be on their ball. The job was to stop the midfield, which they did so well for Arsenal. So like I guess I can see it like with both sides. But like I think that when I look at what is the most expensive player in the Premier League, I'm not seeing what I would be expecting from that player. And what are we, 8 games into him playing, 7 games into him playing? I just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. And to be honest, for me, I think it's the defensive center mid role. Like, I don't think the stats are going to be there for him, and I'm not going to ever expect him to. I don't know if fraud alert for me would be what I would call it, but I do agree with you. Like, I expect more from him. I'm also, to be honest, I expect more from Enzo. I think he had a couple of chances against Arsenal that he could have scored. And I'm kind of waiting for him to get that first goal to maybe catapult him into finding some finishes, because I do think in the future, Caicedo is going to be more of that holding as far as letting Enzo go forward a little bit more. But I don't think it's fraud alert yet, because I think the position that we're asking him to play, it's not going to be one of those ones where he's going to get forward a lot.
We've also not seen anyone really come into this Chelsea side and be like completely revolutionized it. Like no one's.
I don't know, man. Like
Palmer, baby.
Yeah, dude. I mean, he's playing
He
really well.
looked good. Yeah,
But I
but
think
I
think
like
about
him.
when Enzo came into the league last year in January. Chelsea were dog shit, and how many times were we on this podcast being like, Enzo's a
Sure.
player, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's picking out passes, he's showing out. But I think that Caicedo, like, I don't know. I'm not seeing it, and I have no doubt that he is a player. I have no doubt how versatile he is. But like, I think that I mean the easiest comparison you can make is like the Declan Rice signing at Arsenal, and Declan has I think only the one goal I think against United, but I don't think he has any more like assists or anything. But that kid's showing up, dude. He's balling. Like he's everywhere. He's carrying the ball. He's kind of doing everything that I thought Caicedo would be doing for Chelsea. I'm just not seeing it.
But how about fraud alert is Sanchez, man? 4.6.
Dude, fuck. He's had a stinker, bro.
Yeah, to be
I
fair,
thought it was pretty cool. Rice got released from Chelsea when he was 14, comes back to the bridge and scores a screamer.
I didn't know that. I did hear that though on the broadcast for the first
I
time.
love that. That's all they talk about, him scoring for his.
They did, dude. They were beating it to death.
Got to.
Um,
There's not much of a story besides that. I feel like, even Rice said it in his post-game interview. Arsenal played their worst game of the season and Chelsea played their best and we drew. So I think that's the real story here, and I don't think anybody should forget that.
Winks.
I'm just laughing that given the perspectives of both teams.
Winks.
What a result for you both.
Winks. Are we calling for Ramsdale yet or what, man?
No, I mean I don't.
That was no banter. That's genuine.
Yeah, no, dude, it's so weird because like statistically they're still such similar players. Just Raya's better with his feet, and in that game, the way that they were pressing, we either needed to have Thomas. First of all, Thomas Partey instead of fucking Jorginho, but we either needed like one of our holding mids to like drop into that space and be an extra guy for our center backs to be able to pass to, or it was Raya stepping up a little bit and playing a little closer to our center backs to be able to play out of the press that way. And I don't think that Ramsdale, in a game like that where they're pressing that much, I don't think that Ramsdale's feet are the best situationally compared to Raya. Now, as far as shot stopping goes,
I think the thing is, I don't think that Raya's positioning on the Mudryk cross was terrible.
Was weird.
That's where I don't think that Ramsdale's necessarily out that far. That's like the only difference, I think.
Yeah.
Just the way they play.
And then the pen.
You guys saw Mudryk's post-game press conference where he said that one of the Chelsea coaches told him that.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Wait, you said what?
I don't believe it. I'm not saying I believe it, but I will.
He said that one of the goalkeeping coaches
told him that
Raya
line.
tracks off his line too much.
Yeah, hey, bro. When you cross it, just cross towards the back post and make it. That's probably what he said.
Like you're supposed to, anyways.
You could see where Sterling was sitting right there, ready to just tap that in.
I will
that whole
also
thing was
say I
wild.
never thought I'd say this, but besides the cross that he had, I thought Cucurella did really well against Saka and had him in his pocket for majority of the game.
Both of your
hated. You guys hated balling.
I know.
Both of your wingbacks were playing our wingers
19
tight.
years old is Gusto. I'm so excited for him.
Yeah, they were playing both of our wingers tight, and I think that was like part of the reason Trossard got the second goal was because your wingbacks were playing our wingers so tight that there's that gap in between the center back and whatever the side wing back it is, and in that case it was the right center back. But so I think that was like a positive out of that for us. Obviously, you guys shut down Martinelli and Saka a lot more, but then at the same time, you guys leave those gaps in between the center back and wing backs. So got to figure out a way to tidy that up. But that was the reason that we were able to score that second goal. Trossard like snuck in between into that back post and put it away. So obviously, it's like a double-edged sword there. Do you give us more time on the wing, or do you leave that space open? And Rice made those runs a lot too in that game, and that's kind of like what Henry talked about, being on both sides of the ball, and that workhorse stamina. I saw him make a ton of runs in between your wing backs and center backs for that reason. So I don't know what's better, letting our wingers have the ball and turn towards goal and make a move and get a cross in or attack the defender one-on-one or lock them up and then give that open space in between the back line. But regardless, congrats on your best game of the year. We'll see. Like I said, we'll see if that
Our
lasts.
best game of the year.
And it was.
No, was not.
I mean, I think it was.
You kidding me?
I
I know you
thought we
guys.
played
I know you
better
guys beat like Burnley 4-0, but it's Burnley.
The first
I thought
60
we played
minutes, you
against
guys were
better
great.
against Liverpool.
Whatever you say, Gypsy. We will move on to the next game of the weekend. We've got Manchester United and Sheffield, a close one.
Squeaking one out.
Hey, all I have to
Squeaking
say-
out 3 points, but 3 points are 3 points. And I'll let Nick talk, and then I'll give it to the United boys.
I just want to say one thing because one, I did not watch the game, but
Say it.
all I have to say is I did not watch any of it, and Harry Maguire was man of the match, so I know it had to have been a snooze fest, right?
Was he?
Or Harry Maguire was just good.
Okay, I'd love to hear it. Let's start it there. I love
Was
it.
Harry him?
Spin zone.
Run it.
That's like no, that's like tell me you didn't watch the game without telling me you
No,
watched.
I didn't. I
Exactly.
did not watch the game. That's why I asked.
Maguire has been great the last 2 times he's played.
Okay.
Finally coming into form.
Hen, I'll let you go first, brother.
Maguire was not my man of the match. I'll tell you that much. Maguire played fine, and so did Evans. You can't give one shout out without the other, but we won against Sheffield United, which is so necessary. I can't even begin to speak how necessary that was. We're in a stretch of games that I think this goes back to the game before the international break. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Doves. I think it was Brentford that we played. When we look at these like upcoming like 3 or 4 games on paper, we should have won all 3 points from every single game. And the fact of the matter is, our last game and this game, both we had to squeak out wins off of worldies. Delo's goal was an absolute banger. I don't know if you all watched the game. If you didn't watch the game, watch that highlight. It was disgusting. It was an unbelievable goal. But there were some good things about this game, and then there was just some kind of consistent problems that we're seeing. It feels like as we're going forward, we get a little bit lost in what we're trying to do. Man, I'll tell you, Hoyland missed he didn't connect with the ball, but this is now like the 3rd or 4th game where our wingers are firing crosses across the face of the goal, and Hoyland's missing it by like 2 inches. Like they'll get the timing down and he'll get there, but it's just not falling for him at the current moment. But it's getting really hard to see Garnacho not in the starting 11. That kid comes on yet again and creates all chaos on the field. The defense doesn't know what to do with him. He's so direct. He drew, I think, 3 fouls within the first 4 minutes of being on the field, putting in shifts on offense and defense. It's like kind of weird because we came away with like a 2-1 win, and like the penalty, like there's just, penalties are penalties, but like Onana played really well. Maguire and Evans played well. Our wingbacks played well. But we still just like didn't break down the low block. We've talked about this for a long time. So it is kind of weird. Like Dobes and I were texting before the game saying like this is an absolutely must win because it is for us. And then the game ended and we're like, okay, we move on to the next one, So it's kind of weird to say that I don't have a ton to say about it, but I feel like we're in kind of like a fragile space right now, and depending on how we do this week in the Champions League and what happens over the weekend, we're in a weird place.
You guys want to hear a crazy stat? And obviously this goes back to Johnny Evans' last time when he was at United. Manchester United have won the last 14 games that Johnny Evans has started. which is absolutely insane. I mean, I don't have much to say other than Hen. I get why we played McTominay in the game because of what he did last game, but to me, there's not a lot of balance in that midfield, especially when you're playing against a team that is going to sit in a low block. Like I don't get why we didn't play Mount or you play an Ericsson or you play 2 guys that are better on the ball, better moving the ball side to side. But and I'm kind of with you. Like not that I think Rashford's like he needs to be dropped. But I also think there's a world where you can play Rashford outright, or you can play Garnacho outright and play them both. Um, in terms of just like the goal, I think it's kind of funny. I was at a wedding during this game, and I had the game on my phone at the wedding during the ceremony, and so they're getting ready to do the I do's. And sorry, Justin or Cher, if you listen to this, they're getting ready to do the I do's. And I'm watching the game, and the whole time it's one of those things where Madison's like slapping my knee, like turn it off, turn it off, turn it off. And so literally they're getting ready to do the I do's, like the rings are on everything, and Madison finally like slaps me again. She's like, turn it off. And I look at her and I go, if they score in this 1-1 game and I don't see it, I can't even tell you how fucking mad I am going to be at you. I put my phone down for 1 minute. They say the I do's. I pick the phone up. It's 2-1. I've never in my life been like, you got to be kidding me. And she's sitting there dying laughing. I'm sitting here trying not to celebrate as everybody's clapping for them, like having their first kiss and shit. And I'm just like, you got to be fucking shitting me. But yeah, no, happy with 3 points. Big Champions League game this weekend. I think what is crazy is I'm pretty sure if I look at this correctly, let me pull the table up here. And by no means am I saying this is going to happen, but we play City at the weekend. If we beat City at the weekend, we're only 3 points off of Man City, which is like, it's very much like not necessarily going to happen. But at the same time, like, we're actually going to have a healthy left back starting tomorrow. Kobe Mainoo's back in training. Like, we're starting to get some key guys healthy. So if we can go on a run of games here and get a few wins, I'll be happy. But I think the lack of style that I see from when we play is still the most concerning. Like we're gutting out these 3-game wins, and we come as a team that last year was built on a solid defense. You guys can argue all you want, but for 4 or 5 months of the season, we were one of the top 3 or 4 best teams in the world in terms of how we were playing, beating teams, going on runs, making it deep into tournaments. Home winning streak. And we just haven't had that at all this year. Like, we haven't had that consistency. We haven't had that style of play. We haven't had any of that. So the wins are great. And like Delo came on the press conference and said today, sometimes you just have to win when you're not at your best. But I think the concern is that we haven't looked great. But then again, when you're starting Lindelof as a left back, you're sort of having to plug these gaps. We'll take the wins any way they come. So on to a big one tomorrow in Copenhagen, but happy with the 3 points.
Did you say you were best club? You guys were playing top 3 club this year? You guys were playing
last year.
Oh, okay.
I missed that. I missed that too.
I thought you said this year. And I was like,
I heard this year too. So
no, bro. But when we beat Barcelona last year, after Barcelona was top of the league, we were rolling.
Europa?
There was some hype.
Yeah, I mean, Barcelona, who, look at this Real Madrid team. Barcelona beat them for the league title last year, and we just walked them off the field in 2 games. So, like, yeah, we were one of the best teams in the world last year.
Trade?
Sure, you can have that.
Okay.
Give it.
Beautiful.
You have a rebuttal. Give it.
All right, and so that will conclude our. I'm just kidding. Today we had the final Prem game that we'll review. Spurs beat Fulham 2-0. Heung-min Son may be in the conversation now for potential player of the year in the Premier League. I didn't watch all of the game, but I watched some of it, and it pains me to say that he looked phenomenal. Shout out Hoover's jersey. But I really don't want to talk about them anymore, so I'll let Hoove do it. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure, I'll take it. Absolutely.
Sure.
Bud.
I'm not sure what to do in this position because it's way easier to talk about Spurs when they're like losing games and then they win a big one and then they like what do I keep saying? I don't know what to do with my hands. This one for sure. Fulham's not a bad side. We can sit here and talk about the stretch of run that they've been on, and they have played some of the worst in the league. They've played some of the lower teams in the table. They played well. We snuck out Liverpool, however you want to rate that one. Arsenal, but for the most part, it's been pretty steady. And this was the same thing. James Maddison, again, exceptional. Sonny looked amazing. I mean, like, I love having him back in form. A happy Sonny is the best Sonny. So seeing his emotion and all that is a lot of fun. Where I will throw out some hot topics. I did say it in our group chat in the Mecca today. But I'm sick and tired of hearing about Romero not being one of the best center backs in this league. And I think today and Friday coming up, and we're going to see it in the next 2 or 3 weeks, the guy's been unbelievable. Outside of the handball that he gave up, or the pen and whatever that was earlier in the season, he's been so good. I
Dude,
do
it's
think
so simple.
I do think it has something to do with being next to a competent other center back. So, like Mickey Van de Ven is rapid. He covers so much ground so quickly that I don't think Romero has to take on the role that he did next to Eric Dyer.
I just think Romero's a wank, and that's why people don't talk about him and don't.
I think there's for sure some of that.
I'm
It's like a Rudiger.
I've always hated Romero. I think he's the biggest wank. I'll call him a dirty player. We can fight
ever since he pulled Cucure's hair.
Yeah, he's a fucking bitch. I hate him.
Awesome.
I fight him on site.
Master of the dark arts, man. Those players will always have a place in the game, no matter how much you hate.
And that's why I don't think he gets talked about, because I do agree with you. He's been very important for you guys in the back, and I think you did just have a great comparison, like our Rudiger when Rudiger was with us. That one guy you can just sick him on anyone and he would have a good.
Yeah, and another master of the dark arts. I understand as a former defender that sometimes you stomp on a guy's foot when they're running in for the corner on a corner. You know what I mean? You just get away with some of those things.
Most of the best teams in the world, and I'm not calling Tottenham one of those yet, but most.
I'm not even going to agree with you if you did. So.
I mean, you look at the history.
We call United the best team.
Sergio Ramos, a Carlos Puyol.
Yeah.
All of these guys have that guy that if somebody on their team gets fucked with, that's where Christian Romero, that's where his jack comes into place, and it's an important role.
No, but I think that's a good point, Nick, because there's definitely some merit to that. People don't want to talk about him because truly, you don't want to play him and you don't enjoy seeing him just throw ridiculous tackles in on some of your skill players. But he does that every week. Lionel Messi has said it. He plays with Lionel Messi every time they go on an international break, and Lionel Messi thinks he's one of the best center backs in the world. So, I understand the sentiment of not liking the guy, and I think that's valid. But I do need some more respect on my man's name. We're on 4 clean sheets, most in the league. Vicario's been exceptional. There's so many positive things to talk about. I don't need to drone on because it was Fulham. And to be fair, they looked pretty poor in the second half. Fulham should have bagged 1 at least. But again, I think that's some more credit to Vicario. But yeah, it's Ange was first half, great. Probably should have scored more. He's second half, didn't love. He's we're gonna look back at that and make some adjustments. But he also pulls off Sonny and Matters almost every game in the 80th. He loves making rotations, and I think that's important when you're not playing outside of the league. At least to get some of these guys who may be crucial down the stretch some touches and some game time. But
injuries are for sure important for you.
Injuries are for sure. We're not super deep in the center mid position. I think Højbjerg is an excellent replacement for Bissouma. Different player. I still want Bissouma to start, but we're going to lose Bissouma and Sarr for AFCON in the winter, and that leaves us with Skipberg, as Spurs Twitter calls them. So Oliver Skip and Pierre Højbjerg together is not the most
McFred, baby.
McFred, baby, yeah.
Exactly. It's not the most fun watch. So I think if anything, I'm really hoping that Rodrigo Bentancur can back healthy and be a real player. But I think that's somewhere that Spurs need to strengthen at least in the offseason. I've seen Calvin Phillips' name thrown around. I'm not going to act like I wouldn't be all about that, and I think that he would fit perfectly in a Bissouma-esque role. So, I don't get my hopes up though because
nice
of Spurs.
Honestly,
Yeah, for sure. And City would, and he'd play. That's his whole thing. He's not playing on that City team. He would get a lot of minutes, at least more than City with Spurs. But I enjoy it while I can, and I'm gonna ride this out. If we keep winning and keep going, then awesome. And if we don't, it's Tottenham, lads. So
bingo.
Best
it is.
in the world. It's why don't we finish first? We're Tottenham.
Yeah.
I mean, that's I do need to say on record on the podcast before we get ahead of anything like that. But If Spurs do what Arsenal did last year, it was an overperformance by 1 mile. It was an overperformance hand over fist. So there will be no Spurs bottle the league. We brought an Australian in from Scotland to coach in the Premier League. No, that
But
overperformance.
how long was Arsenal top of the table?
No dynasty talk, Hoove?
No, brother, we haven't won anything since 2008. Don't throw the D word out there, dog. We gotta win some straight.
That didn't stop Arsenal.
Hey,
It doesn't.
That FA Cup counts for something, though, right?
Confidence. Jesus. All right, gentlemen, that wraps up our Premier League recap from the weekend. And we talked about it briefly earlier in our group text, but we're going to end this podcast with not a factor cap, but another kind of challenge, also not a draft. But the plan here is each of us are going to pick a historical player that you would like to bring into your current club that you think would either change the way that you guys play or make you guys better or put you guys in the title race, whatever the case might be. I'll leave that up to your discretion. But again, one historical player, so somebody that's currently retired that you would want to bring into your club. I guess we can start in the same way that I introduced you guys. So, Hafey, I know you said you were doing all your research and have the best pick out of all of us. So I'll let you go first and see what that cap is like.
I'm so interested with.
I
Me
never
too.
said that I had the best pick. I just said I was
Did the
doing.
research to learn the history of the club.
No, I wasn't.
He's only been a fan like 6 months, so he's got
That
to.
is- you guys like to grab onto that one whenever you can. That's whenever.
Absolutely.
I will say I am excited to see where you go because Chelsea.
A lot of options.
Well, I think with some of our teams, it's a little bit more defined of like this position would really work well. Whereas with Chelsea, you have a lot of variance. So
I think this pick's easy for me if I'm Nick.
Well, so I do think the pick's easy, but I definitely think there's a lot of great legends of Chelsea that I had to pick from. Like I think
It didn't have to be a Chelsea legend. It could be.
Oh, I thought it.
no, it had.
It's club specific.
Okay,
Club specific.
okay. Ignore me.
Club specific. Club
I
specific.
was like, what? I was like, what are we talking about?
Lucas
But,
is like,
I think
yeah.
the one thing that I've said week in and week out, and we've spent so much money, and we don't have a true in and out goal scorer. So I think that's why the pick has to be Drogba.
I thought you were gonna go Lukaku, bro.
I thought you were going Timo Werner, bro.
The ones that were hard for me was Frank Lampard because he's still an incredible goal scorer as well in the midfield position. I
him as
also
coach.
think in Eden Hazard because Hazard's seasons only 2. Yes, I'll admit there were only 2 in his prime when he was at Chelsea, but man, were they very fun to watch, and he scored some goals and set up a lot of good ones.
Wait, hold on. Did
One
you
of the
say
main
there were only
reasons-
2 seasons that Hazard was good?
No, in his peak prime when he was like top 3 in the world. is
Oh,
what
okay.
I'm
I was
saying.
like, brother, he was gassed for so long.
Yeah,
He was
I
Ballon
agree
d'Or
with
material
that.
for a
I'm saying
while.
like
Yeah.
peak prime top 3.
Okay.
Like, those insane years. But yeah, I'm taking Drogba because I think I've said on the podcast a couple times we haven't bought a striker who can score some goals. So I'll take 29 in the Prem in his season. So
That's what I would have said too. That's why I thought it was easy.
I think that's a good choice. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
John Terry too,
Hoover?
big shout out.
Yeah.
Just bring them all back.
Yeah, why not?
That was you guys had some golden years for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
My
I'm
My
interested in
obvious-
this. Wait, I'm interested in this one right here.
Harry Kane, bring him back.
Dude, only well, he's not retired. He's
I think this
can't do
one's
Harry
easy,
Kane.
too.
Yeah.
If you don't,
I think
if you don't pick
this
Clint,
one's
you're
easy.
I don't think I know any
Clint.
historical Tottenham.
Job said Clint.
dog Clint.
That'd be lit.
I reached out when I first started. Well, no, I've if anyone's listening and they have a long sleeve 2011, 2012 Clint Dempsey jersey from Tottenham, I would pay high dollar for that. I have searched my entire life for that, and it turns out not a super popular jersey. But so my obvious answer is not the one that I'm going to go with, but I have to say within the current squad and the current way that they play and the current holes of where you could upgrade, because I think everyone fits pretty well for the way that Ange set it up. Gareth Bale's the easy answer. He's not who I'm going with, but he is the easy
Oh.
answer. He fits right into that Kulusevski side.
Yeah,
And,
bro.
and,
Yes.
and all Ams wants him to do is to cut in on his left foot. That's it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
Declan Kulusevski might as well play one-footed because he can't go on his right. He won't do it. The only reason we scored that goal or the own goal against Liverpool is because Pedro Porro said, "I'm sick of you not going to the line. I'm just going to piss one in." So he would fit. He would make the team better. That's the obvious pick. My pick is someone who would unseat Sarr, and that is Moussa Dembele.
Sick.
I take this pick as one that the streets will never forget. I also take this pick on the back of some very important players and their opinions on former footballers. And you ask any of the older players at Belgium who played with Moussa Dembele, that he was one of the best footballers they'd ever played with. Kevin De Bruyne specifically says he wants him on one of his five-a-sides, when you're setting up those fantasy kind of, press conference, whatever. But you couldn't get the ball off of him. Number one, he was so slick. His ability to transfer, his ability to link play with other people via creativity was ridiculous. He was also a bruiser. Like, the guy stuck tackles. He was a tireless runner. He got in and made tackles. And I think him with Madison and Bissouma, it would be the most disgusting middle
the
three.
streets won't forget pick.
The streets
100%.
will never forget Moussa Dembele, because there were 3 years or so that I was watching him that was like, I can't believe no one else is talking about this man. He was that good. So, streets.
Neither of the Belgian center backs.
I'm comfortable with the center backs right now. Obviously, that was one of the greatest pairings that Spurs had for a really long time. Like, I still think of Jan Vertonghen's super game against Dortmund in the Champions League. He had a goal and an assist. things that
You mean the Johnny Evans special?
The Johnny Evans special, bro. Poch had a master stroke of playing him on the left side of a back three, and he whipped across and got one back post. It was what dreams were made. But
Money.
Musa.
All right, good pick. United boys, I would love if you guys had different opinions on this.
Mine's different 100%.
Okay, just
Why don't
making
you go
sure.
first, then?
I think it'd be good. Yeah.
Take a
start us
guess
off.
on what position.
Sure.
Do either of you guys have a goalkeeper?
No.
Dang.
What a waste of a pick.
No.
What do you mean? Eben van der Sar's a legend.
I was saying De Gea. He's retired. Dobes, you go first.
It's just clubless.
This is so hard because our legend list is like thousands. This is gonna be an interesting pick, and I think that none of you guys think that I'm gonna go this direction. This is kind of like Hooves. It's a streets won't forget pick. I want to say I kind of want to let you guys guess.
Dimmy.
No, that was a good one, but I
That
don't
one
think we
came
need
up
it.
in my.
Wait, he played a lot as a right winger.
Lukaku.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
go.
he played for United too.
I'm gonna go with Park Ji-sung.
Oh,
Wow.
I think that when you look at the United team, Park Ji-sung or Ji-sung Park, whatever you want to say, correct term. He played a ton as a right winger, and I think we're sort of missing a little bit of what he brings. And if you look at all of the interviews from Wayne Rooney to Cristiano Ronaldo to Dimitar Berbatov to all of these guys when he won the Champions League, and they refer to who was like the most important person in that team, and all of them come back and say Ji-sung Park, because it was one of those things where there's no attitude, there's no bullshit, there's none of that stuff that we've seen with so many of the United players these days. It was strictly business, and this is a guy that worked his nuts off for the team. Not only that, he scored big goals in big moments. My easy one, I wanted to go Roy Keane just to fucking light up our dressing room. But I
thought one of you had to go.
That'd be a good locker room pick. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought it was too easy of a pick, and I genuinely think that like we have a midfield that can be solid when fully healthy. I think we need a right winger that can do anything but what Anthony does. So bad. So I'm going Ji-sung Park.
You said this man has no bullshit, and if we have anything, our right wingers can't stay out of jail. So
Hey,
we'll take
Give me
that.
the Asian sensation, baby.
Yeah, we'll take that. Um, I have like two. I have like my pick that you all are gonna be like duh, and then I have like my more indie pick. But my first one is Wayne Rooney. Truthfully, anywhere across the front three, like I just think that
Basic,
like
man, too basic.
well, so exactly. I have a backup. Don't worry. So Wayne Rooney across the front three, across the front four, if you want to play him as a 10, dude, like that guy could play anywhere. He could
Play him as a
complement
6.
anyone. Yeah,
Play him
dude,
as a
fuck
6.
it. Everton, shout out.
Yeah.
He can play anywhere. He can do anything. He's one of the most skilled players we've ever seen in the Prem. Like he would fit into any team, anywhere, anytime. So Wayne Rooney's my basic pick, but I'm actually gonna go a little bit more obscure for my real pick. Carlos Tevez
Wow.
as the striker. I think when you get a
Pretty
prime
cool.
Tevez at United, linking up with Rooney and Ronaldo, and then you got him at City being a dog, and then some of his best years at Juventus being an absolute dog. I think that we could use that a lot in our team. I think Hoyland, honestly, like I've been impressed with him every single time I've watched him play. Like he has a great work ethic, but Tevez was different, doing it at every single team he went to. He's a little bit of a psycho, so I think that he would fit in. And he's got those Argentina links, so I'm gonna go Tevez.
Bold.
Okay,
Good.
very
Bold is
bold.
right. Bold is right.
But that's fun though when you don't just like pick the obvious one,
Yeah.
and that makes it kind of tough for me. But if I look at our
Thierry
lineup,
Henry.
yeah, thanks Nick, you fucking prick.
Wait,
But
I got a few Arsenal ones that I think are really good ones.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, for me, looking at our lineup, Thierry Henry's the obvious one. I feel like in build-up play, we create a lot of opportunities, and then when we get the ball into our strikers, um,
Dude,
they they have they have trouble finishing a lot of times. Say what,
he would link with this current Arsenal team so well.
bro? 6'2", faster than bigger and faster than Nketiah and Gabriel Jesus. Probably better
Sauce.
footwork. An absolute dog. Like he would be the perfect player in this lineup. Like I would love to have Patrick Vieira there, but with a healthy Thomas Partey, I don't think that that's like our weakest position. Um, and even at Cam, um, Freddie Lumberg or whoever else, Perez and Bergkamp. Like Bergkamp would be sick too. I'm confused, Hen.
I just can't believe that you said Freddie Lundberg as a player that you would regen, but
I
Oh,
wouldn't. I wouldn't. I wouldn't. That's why I'm saying like with Odegaard at Cam, that's obviously not our weakest position.
okay.
I'm not gonna pick somebody like any of those
Isaac?
guys because it's not our weakest. Like striker is far and above our weakest position, and that's why Thierry Henry needs to be in this team ASAP. But
Dude, I think it's also a really big shout out for Ashley Cole as the left back. And I know that Zinchenko has been like, this like revolution to Arsenal. I think he's a fraud, but whatever. I think that Ashley Cole on that left back position flying down the wing, he's the best left back to ever play in England. Like
Oh, disrespect on Leighton Baines' name there.
you said you chill. You chill for a
Whoa.
second. But I don't know. Like it's hard to disagree with Thierry Henry though. I mean, what a baller.
Sask, Ozil, Wilshere.
Ooh.
Santi.
they would all be like I said, they would all be sick. But those just like flat out on our weakest position. Like if I got to pick, and all we needed help in every position, I would pick Ozil in a heartbeat because he's my favorite player of all time. But Cesc would be unreal too. Yeah, I just think that
He's a
Got
Chelsea legend.
Jorginho playing.
with what we need the most right now, it's got to be Thierry.
Jorginho or Cesc Fabregas.
Two
Kate
Chelsea
Kate
legends.
Kate Abdo's man crush, Mr.
I don't know.
Henry.
I think you also could have gone Vieira. I know that you gave reason for not Vieira, but I could see Vieira and Henry being a toss up as well.
Yes, but then that doesn't solve our scoring problem.
But I thought you had two like world class wingers.
We do.
I thought they were like the two best wingers in the league. Is that not what it is?
Would you?
I never said that.
Was,
They don't have the Brazilian
saying
striker that scored the bike in the World Cup. So.
did
And
Arteta's
that's it.
name? Did Arteta's name ever cross your mind?
No.
Oh, okay. I was wondering.
I mean, Ozil, Cesc, and Wilshere are all better midfielders than Arteta was. I'd rather have Arteta. I'd rather have Arteta pulling the strings with Thierry up top.
I don't know Arteta's player career like that for real.
He had a handful of worldies.
I was trying to think of a good center back from Arsenal.
Sol Campbell.
Oh yeah.
Ian Ian Wright play?
I think he was a
He's a
CDM.
forward, bro.
He's a
Ian Wright's
forward.
a forward. What are we talking about?
Right? What?
I know.
Uh,
But
I don't know,
Thierry's just way better than Ian Wright. So
you had Colo Torre. Could
dog.
Yeah,
Colo.
Colo.
yeah, Tony Adams would have been sick too. But I mean, there's also just some guys that like you see on like the list of legends for your club and just never really get a chance to watch them play besides highlights.
Yeah,
so it's
for
tough
sure.
for me to pick some of those guys sometimes.
Jimmy Greaves.
Wild. All right, so Hafey got Drogba, Uv Dembele, and Ji-sung Park.
No, that was
Or sorry, Dobes, Park Ji-sung.
I like
However
his
you say it.
picks.
Yeah. And Hen took Carlos Tevez. Thierry Henry. Man, what an exciting prem it would be if all those guys played for those clubs right now.
Oh wow.
Yes.
That would be electric.
So
Electric. But all right, with that, we'll call it a day. Gentlemen, well done. And to everybody listening, thanks for listening. We're in the process of vetting out a couple other podcast recording platforms since we recently ended our relationship very angrily with Zencaster. And so we'll be coming to you soon with one of those, and that'll hopefully provide us the opportunity to share a lot more kinds of content with you, better versions of clips, potentially even getting some of you listeners to listen in the audience and watch the podcast recording live and ask questions and give comments while we're recording. So we're working on that and kind of vetting out that stuff. We'll keep you guys updated. But in the meantime, you can find those updates on all of our social media, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, even, all of that stuff. Still slowly working towards bringing our Twitter back to a collective Premier League and St. Louis City Twitter as opposed to just Manchester United, but baby steps. And
Get active, fellas. Get active.
That's what I'm saying, dude. I thought that we were all on there, like doing our own shit.
I mean, I feel like I just don't check Twitter as much as I should.
That's
I
part of the
spend
problem.
way too much time on it, bro.
And then when I do have thoughts, I usually just text it to you guys. So maybe I need to just when I have an opinion on something, I should just start tweeting it and then texting you guys about it.
Don't rope me into like the United stuff on the Mecca. That is strictly.
Oh, I know.
No. It's Dubs.
Henry and Hoove are absolutely carrying our Twitter right now, and
I can check the IP addresses.
Yeah.
It's all Dubs.
I like a lot of Spurs Twitter tweets.
Yeah, dude. That's
just so it gets in our feed more.
Adding our ats when we tweet.
Yeah, for real.
All right, gents. Well done.
Cheers, fellas.
Yeah,
boys.
good stuff, boys.
Jeez.